he's gone. So I had a really, really good friend in my childhood one time, and we were friends for possibly like multiple years, and it was probably when I was really, really young, like maybe 5 years old. And then one day, his family had to end up moving, and I haven't seen him since. And that's, really, really hard thing to live with, is knowing that you're never going to see these people again that you knew in your childhood really, really well, because as kids, we're oblivious to so many things, and we think everyone is just always going to be there in the moment, is what we think as kids. And it hurts, because I realized it recently that I'm never going to see those I'm never going to see him again. And he was my first ever like real best friend. And things just happen in life, and people have to move on. But it's sad for me to realize that I'm never going to see him again. And I know he has already made new friends. I saw him like once, maybe a year ago or a couple of years ago, uh, and his family was like visiting, you know, visiting, and his family was here doing something, and so I got to see him then, but we hadn't seen each other in so long, to the point where it was kind of sad, because it was like, it was like we were first meeting each other, because we hadn't seen each other in so long. And that was really sad, because I didn't even know what to say. And um, you know, it, we're oblivious as children, and we don't realize as kids that the people we see and the experiences we have when we're young aren't going to be there forever. And when you end up realizing that when you grow up, it hits you deep down. And then you feel like it's very hard to live with that fact, right? And you know that's the saddest thing, that he his family, you know, ended up having to move away, I think because of his dad's job or something. I don't fully remember. It's pretty foggy, because it's been years since I last saw him. But man, when I was young, we were such good friends, and we were friends for, I think, probably multiple years. And you know, just the thought of me knowing I remember him in the back of my head, and I'm probably never going to see him again or be able to see him again, but like I remember his name still. Even I I remember one of the things that he liked. I think when we were really young, I remember he showed me something. I don't know if it was a like editing app or something, but I know it was something I wasn't able at that time to have or do. And we kind of fidgeted around a little bit with it. And then I still remember his favorite superhero was Batman, um, which is, you know, uh, kind of honestly sad to think about. But we had, I had to say goodbye to him one day, and having to do that, I think in the long term really took a toll on me. It didn't back then, but I think it took a toll on me back when I was younger, and it just kind of sucks to realize, but also doesn't suck to realize, because, nostalgia and growing up are just factors of life. But the fact that I didn't even get his number because I didn't have a phone as a kid, and I'm not in touch with him anymore, just hurts deep down, and we don't realize that as kids, but he's basically gone from my life forever now, and I kind of just have to live with that fact, when he was a amazing person that I knew so well. And I don't remember a lot of stuff from when we were kids, but one thing I do remember is I don't fully remember, it's foggy, but I think that before he moved away, he gave me a tiny toy figure of something that I think I still have. I don't know fully where it is, and that may be part of also what helped me remember him, potentially. But, I mean, just realizing that I'm never going to see him again is very sad to realize, in all honesty. And, he's always going to be in the back of my head because I just remembered him so well that I'm always going to have him in the back of my mind. I think I literally, it might be a core memory. I think for me, he unlocked a core memory, and I feel like that's something special you don't get a lot with people. So I imagine he probably was a very, very good value to me, and as a kid, I really probably enjoyed being around him. And I'm not going to know what he looks like, or what he does, or how old he is currently in this day and age, because I've grown up. I know he's grown up because I've grown up, and it's sad, because it's sad to think about, right? Someone for years as a child, and then one day they end up having to move away, and you end up never seeing them again for years. And I think that's what's the most sad part, which is just, a bit of nostalgia for me. And it's good nostalgia, right? But it's one of the examples where nostalgia hits you hard, right? Without you even realizing. Because then you're like, oh, wow, yeah, that did happen in my childhood. And now I can't ever go back to those days. I can't ever relive those memories. I'm never going to know this person that I knew really well before again. And, thinking about that is very depressing and sad. And, very nostalgic for me. And, I can't I can't control anything. What makes it even worse, though, is I know he was my very, very first ever friend I ever had, and I think we became best friends for that little bit of time, I'm pretty sure. But, I'm never gonna see him again. I mean, I'm never gonna see his family again. I think they had to move away, I think, due to his, like, dad's job or something. And, there's a chance that I may never see him again, even when I'm like 30 years old, which is very sad, in all honesty, and I have to deal with that. and I guess that's just part of growing up, is realizing that. But you know, it's just, it's sad to me, right? And I think it's sad to a lot of people. um I think is what it is. I think it's sad to a lot of people, and for good reason, right? I mean, you never get to see these people again, right? And now I bet I you know I have a best friend now, um that isn't him. But I mean, it's just sad since, like I said before, I literally have a living memory from him that I still have to this day, which is a tiny toy like figurine that I don't even know how old it is at this point. But I mean, it's just, I have to deal with that because he's pretty much like such a core memory in my life that I remember it, even if it was like, it might have been even over like 10 years. And to be honest, it probably was. Um, Probably was, to be honest, like 10 years, which is sad to, think about, because I know I'm never going to see him again. And I know I'm never going to see his family again, which I had a good relationship with. And people aren't forever, and life can change in an instant, in mere seconds and minutes. Life can change, and then you're left with, what do I do? What am I going to do? Right? Because I don't know what part of me he gave to me or made me, but I think it was obviously clearly a good part, because I'm feeling, very nostalgic and sad, because I'm realizing I'm never going to get to see him again. I saw him one time where he came back with his family and visited um, some place at some place in my town, but I, you know, I it's sad to think about, especially when you have a memory or a relic from that person that they gave to you. It makes it hit even harder. It makes the nostalgia hit even harder. And it hurts. And I have to live with that at this point now. And I don't know if it'll be worse or better the more that I grow up, but I just, I'm gonna miss him. I already have missed him. I haven't seen him in years. I know he's made new friendships, and I couldn't be happier for him. But I just knowing that I'm never gonna know him again, it leads to, a bunch of bad, not necessarily bad, but like sad memories, because then you go and your brain ends up like dawning on every memory you had with that person, that one specific person, and it makes you sad. It does. It truly does make you sad. And just having to live with that is just, it is sad. That is what it is it's sad. But I mean, people aren't forever, and as kids we don't realize that. And I'm going to continue to miss him. I hope that by some miracle I can see him again at some point in the future, but I don't know if that will ever happen. And that's what makes it even more sad.